everyone, and welcome back to another video on my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to be kind of doing a mukbang. I don't really know whether it counts if you don't order takeaway food, but your girl is broke, so I just made some vegan nuggets and chips, or fries, whatever you want to call them, in the air fryer, and I'm just going to be doing my mukbang with those. So the main subject on today's video is breastfeeding, and I asked you guys over on my Instagram if there was anything you wanted to know about breastfeeding, like my breastfeeding journey or any tips, you know, just anything to do with breastfeeding in general. Also, Alfie is over here on my left playing in his playpen, so if you can hear any of the toys making noise, that will be him. He'll probably be popping in and out of this video because I can imagine he's probably going to get a little bit annoyed just sat in there by himself. But yeah, so I'm just going to go straight in and get started. So the first question I'm going to answer is, did your mum breastfeed? If so, for how long? Yes, my mum breastfed me and my brother for, I think it was 2 years. I think she had us on follow-on milk after 6 months maybe. I may be completely wrong, so sorry mum if you're watching this. Yeah, I'm pretty sure she had us on follow-on milk after 6 months or at a certain point, and then she only breastfed us in the night. So my mum was actually the main reason why I wanted to breastfeed, because she was like, Daisy, you have to do it, it is the best experience. So I kind of took a leaf out of her book and decided to do it for myself. My mum was the biggest help with my breastfeeding journey. She was there every single step of the way. At the end of the day, she didn't care whether I breastfed or whether I didn't. I think she was obviously, hello gorgeous. He's looking at me through the playpen. Yeah, I think she was probably more on the breastfeeding side because she did it and she knows how amazing it was, and like the journey was just incredible for her. But she wasn't obviously bothered what I did. I mean, it's my life, it's not hers. So at the end of the day, I think she was very, very encouraging towards me breastfeeding, and she definitely helped a lot. If it wasn't for my mum, I don't think I would have breastfed, because there was a point at the very beginning of my journey when Alfie was a proper newborn that I genuinely thought I was going to have to give up, because it's so hard when they're cluster feeding. But my mum really helped me push through, and now we are 8 months in and I couldn't be happier. So yeah. Is breastfeeding practical? Yes, breastfeeding is so practical. For me, it's like in the middle of the night when Alfie would wake up and I was absolutely exhausted. I didn't have to get up, go downstairs and make a bottle. There's no sterilising. It is literally as simple as pick them up, put them on your boob, they have milk, back to bed. I mean, sometimes it didn't always go like that, but that in theory is what the easiest thing about breastfeeding is that you don't have to prepare anything. It's literally just there, your body makes it. Sometimes I feel like it can be a little bit impractical, especially when at the beginning I was using a shield. So when I was out and I had to put the shield on and it was really fiddly, and you know, it was a little bit stressful, but at the end of the day I would say it's much easier than bottle feeding. I mean, I've done both, not with formula but with express milk, and the stages leading up to getting that bottle of breast milk is very long compared to Alfie just feeding straight off of my boobs. So yeah, I would definitely say it's practical. Does he ever cry before feeding, like uncontrollably? Yes, he does, and I think this is mainly down to teething and also if he doesn't want to feed, because Alfie very much associates feeding with sleep, and I know that's not the best thing, but he does. And if I'm putting him, like laying him down, he instantly is like, no, I don't want to go to sleep, stop doing that. So sometimes he just doesn't comply with me. But I would say the best solution for this is I just gently rock him. So sometimes he's literally here like this and I'm just there going like this and his mouth starts to open and then he latches. So I think it's just about finding a way that works for you, and that really works for me. So if you are struggling with that, definitely try it. How are you finding breastfeed? This is gonna happen so much. How are you finding breastfeeding and weaning together? Anyway, how are you finding breastfeeding and weaning together? I would say it's pretty much the same as when I wasn't weaning him. The only difference is that sometimes Alfie can get a little bit more full up from foods like yogurt and thick, almost like puree food that isn't puree. like Weetabix, yogurt, anything like that. It makes him more full up, so he is less likely to feed. He's obviously playing with the noisiest toy while I'm filming, but it's fine, we ignore it. I've said this before and I'll say it again. With Alfie feeding off of me, we'll always try and give him milk before he eats anything, so he doesn't get it as almost like a reward, because obviously if they're trying to eat normal food, sometimes they can be fussy about it, they just don't want it, all they want is milk because it's all they know, which is completely fair enough. But you don't want them to get into the habit of like, oh okay, I just won't eat this food because I know afterwards I'm gonna get milk. So I try and feed him before and then go in with the food, so he kind of establishes the difference. I wouldn't say it's necessarily weaning that has made a difference in Alfie's feeding. I would say it's more to do with his teeth. It just kind of happens to be around the same time, so it's hard to differentiate the two, but I would definitely say it's more his teeth, because days when his teeth aren't hurting him, he feeds completely normally. So yeah, I wouldn't say there's too much of a problem surrounding feeding and weaning together. I would also say it is still pretty convenient. My girlfriend is planning to do it but worried about the pain. How bad is it? When I first got Alfie out the hospital, I was using shields, so I didn't really feel much pain. I'd say they definitely take the pain away because they're not actually on your bare nipples, so it's easier for your nipples to not get sore. But after 6 weeks, I managed to wean Alfie off of the shields. And I would say the pain, like for me, next to nothing. I think most people have this idea that it's so painful, and I think it is different for everybody, so I can't say what will be like for her, but for me it was really not that bad. And once you push through like the first week and you start really establishing a routine with it and your baby is growing, the pain doesn't matter. I'd say now he's 8 months old and he's got teeth, he's started to like bite my nipple, and yeah, okay, it's painful. But apparently your nipples sort of harden over time because they realise, like your body realises that your baby is teething and it needs to like prepare for it, which I think is just incredible. Obviously it could be completely different for your girlfriend. I'm not saying that she will get no pain at all. I'm just saying that if she does experience any sort of pain, she just needs to push through it, and eventually your body will realise and you will not get pain anymore. How did you come over the look/fear of breastfeeding in public? So I remember the first time I breastfed Alfie in public, and it was actually at a pub over the road from me. I remember being so scared. I was terrified of what people were going to say, the looks I was going to get, but I basically just sat in the corner to make myself feel a little bit more comfortable. I had this huge jumper on and I did it and it was fine. And then over time, I just got more and more confident. It's the same as everything. You really have to just persevere and push through it, and then your confidence will slowly build. If you stop yourself from doing something, you are essentially telling yourself that you can't do it. If you tell yourself that, yeah, it's fine, no one cares, even if you do get looks, who cares? Who's bothered? I'm not. So I basically just fake the confidence, and I have said it so many times, fake it till you make it. Honestly, I used to just think, nah, no one's gonna care, even if people did, who cares? And then now I don't care, and I just do it whenever, wherever, whenever my baby needs it. And that's the most important thing. You just have to remember what is the most important factor in this situation, and the answer will always inevitably be your baby. Your baby is hungry, your baby needs feeding. So that comes above anybody else's opinion, anybody else's thoughts, any looks. It should always come first. So I would definitely just say, tell yourself you can do it, keep doing it, build up your confidence, and then eventually you should be able to do it anywhere and everywhere. This is a good question. Right, mate. What did you feed Alfie before your milk came in? I'm so confused on what to do. So, I had no idea about any of this. I remember I didn't even think about it. I didn't even think about it until I was in the hospital and I'd had him, and I was like, what do I do now? My milk's not even come in yet. So basically, towards the end of your pregnancy, your body will start making this substance called colostrum. Colostrum is essentially liquid gold. It's very, very thick in consistency. It's not like breast milk. And basically, you're supposed to feed your baby with that. So I'm pretty sure from 37 weeks, when you are considered full term, you can start hand expressing, start pumping a little bit, you know, trying to get things going. And your body may realise and start producing milk. Not 100% sure, it was ages ago for me, so I can't really remember, but I just remember being sat in the hospital like, oh my god, panic, I need to get my milk in now. And all I was basically producing was these little bits of colostrum. But it's fine because that colostrum is enough to feed your baby. I can't remember the exact measurements, but I think it's like 10 mil or something of colostrum for like day 2 or something, 7 mil for day 1, something like that. I was literally feeding Alfie through a syringe, and I was syringing it out of my boobs. My mum was helping me. Yeah, my mum was helping me syringe colostrum out of my boobs to feed Alfie with. So your body is essentially just preparing for it and making a substance before your milk comes in. So don't worry about that, but I'm just saying, do your research. Have a look into ways of producing colostrum and how much to feed them, because I was so uneducated and I had no idea. But even if you don't worry about it. The midwives at the hospital should tell you. Right, you can't have any of this food. Instantly goes for the food. How do you manage supply? I leak so much at night, I have to sleep on a towel. So I would say your supply kind of evens out, usually by a few months in. So my other boob still leaks. Whenever I feed Alfie on one boob, the other one will just leak. It is just inevitable that's going to happen to me. It doesn't happen for everybody. Everybody is different. So that's what happens to me. So I basically always at the very beginning used to wear breastfeeding bras where I could like unclip the side and feed Alfie, and then the other side would stay clipped, and then the other side would be completely soaked. So I did used to use breast pads all the time, every single day. I used to use multiple breast pads because I found that it would help soak up the milk that was coming out. But now Alfie is almost 8 months old and I wouldn't say I leak anymore. Sometimes I do if I'm really engorged, and if that happens, I always find that I just have to basically hold my boob to stop the milk coming out. I'm not sure how that works, but my theory is that it like tricks my body into thinking that it's blocked and it won't come out. So I basically just do that and it's always worked for me. It just stops the milk just flowing out like bloody Niagara Falls. But yeah, I think it depends how far in your journey that you are. I'm sure it's like by 9 months maybe, I could be completely wrong. Your milk sort of evens out and you don't really have to worry about that anymore. But I would just say constantly use breast pads, and yeah, there's a lot of bra changes, but there's not really much you can do about it. When Alfie goes to his dad's for a few days and you have to express, do you notice a change in your milk supply? I wouldn't say I notice a dramatic change. I would say it's, you're looking at my food. It depends on how much I pump. So obviously you don't know how much your baby is getting. It is literally supply and demand. You latch them and they just take whatever milk they feel like. So I would say when you pump, kind of does the same thing as if your baby was feeding directly from you. It tells your body that it needs to make more, you know, as and when basically. So I tend to pump every 2 to 2.5 hours when Alfie is at his dad's, and I do that to not only increase my supply, but so he has some bottles to feed him when he's not with me. So I basically top up the freezer stash. So we'll use 2 bottles, full bottles of breast milk. We'll give it to his dad, and then I will replace those 2 bottles or more in the day that Alfie is away. So yeah, if you are, you know, struggling with milk supply when your baby is not with you, definitely increase the amount that you pump, because it will tell your body to make more and your supply should even out a little bit. Do you express? Any tips if you do? Yes, I do. As I just touched on, I do express, but only when Alfie is at his dad's. And my best tip is, if you have a massage mode on your machine or whatever you're using, use that first for 2 to 5 minutes to sort of stimulate the area, get things going, let your body know what you're doing, and then you should kind of feel your milk come in. What are you doing? What are you laughing at? Then once you've done your massage mode, you then go on to your full suction mode, and that is the way that I get the most milk out. I would also say do not put it on the highest setting that you possibly can. I use a Spectra, I think it's S1 somebody said, but I use a Spectra pump which is hospital grade and it is brilliant. I am so glad that I got it. The only thing that's annoying is that it's not hands-free, and because of that I went and got 2 of the Mum Cozy hands-free breast pumps, and the suction on the Mum Cozy ones is nowhere near the level of the Spectra. So did you just fart on my leg? So yeah, it does depend on the type of suction on the breast pump, but with the Spectra one I can go up to level 12, which is seriously like, it grabs your boob in that suction cup. So I would probably suggest not putting it on too much of a high suction. I told you he was going to be in and out of this video, he's just getting annoyed being with me. With expressing milk, you want to essentially mimic what your baby is doing on your boob. So if your baby isn't like a really, it's going to sound so wrong, but like a hard sucker, you're not going to want to put the suction on too much of a high volume, because otherwise your body is going to be like, what's going on? So I would try and sort of put the suction on the same as what your baby would do. So with the Spectra I use volume 8, and then the massage setting I use volume 5, because I just find that gives me the most milk, and yeah, that's just what works best for me. Tips for breastfeeding. Not gonna lie, I probably have so many and I'm getting absolutely boiling in here. Whew! My back is literally sweating. One thing I will always say is, if you are struggling with latch, use a nipple shield. There is this massive misconception that nipple shields are only for people with sore nipples. When you use them, it may affect your milk supply. I mean, I personally never had any of those problems. It was absolutely fine with me. My milk supply was completely normal and it never changed, with a shield or without a shield. It can really help the baby with latch. With Alfie, I literally could not get him to latch. I was trying for 3 days and he would not do it. He just didn't understand. As soon as I put that shield on, I am not even kidding, it was seconds and he fed. So I used that shield for 6 weeks and then I weaned him off it within a week and he got it, and now we're 8 months in. Another one is, don't let cluster feeding worry you. It will not be like that forever. When you first have your baby, it is bloody hard. You feel all out of sorts, your life has just changed, everything is just a massive whirlwind, and that's normal, that can't be helped. But then you add breastfeeding and cluster feeding on top of that, it becomes even more of a struggle, because you are going through serious baby blues. Your baby is attached to you constantly, and I mean constantly, and sometimes you just want to be left alone and there's no one there to help. If you're breastfeeding, you're the only one who can do it, obviously unless you express the bottle, but we're not on about that. We're on about exclusively breastfeeding. So just ride it out. Your hormones will balance out, the pain will stop, everything will go back to normal, your life will adjust, you will adapt. It's what humans do, we adapt to our surroundings. So honestly, just wait. It will get so much better. If you are struggling with it, reach out for help. Maybe express a bottle or 2 so you can get a little bit more sleep in the night. Do whatever you need to do. But if you are desperate to breastfeed like I was and you are seriously struggling, just wait, because time is on your side. So the last question I'm going to answer is, what bottles does Alfie's dad use when he feeds him? My baby will only take breast. So Alfie didn't take a bottle for 3, maybe 4 months, and I remember trying to give him one, and it's on my TikTok, and he just would not take it. He was just chewing the end. He did not understand that milk was gonna come out of that. So we personally use mam bottles, but for us it wasn't to do with the bottle shape, it was more to do with the fact that I was trying to feed him with this bottle and he was just there like, Mum, what's going on? Your boobs are right there, why am I not getting fed from them? So somebody gave me the advice to start giving other people, so example my mum, Alfie's dad, and try and get them to feed him, because that then separates the feeding from me, if that makes sense. So we started doing that, and after a while he got it. I would also say with breastfed babies, try and find a teat that works for you. I know with mam they do 1, 2 and 3. I don't know if they do any more, but that's the ones that we have. So even though Alfie was like 4 months old and he should have really been on like teat 2 or teat so he should have really been on like teat 2 or teat 3. We had him on the newborn ones because my milk wasn't as fast as those teats, and otherwise he would just choke. Well, mummy's phone, there you go. There you go. So yeah, try and find a teat that resembles your baby feeding on your boob. That's the thing, when you're not feeding them on your boob and you have previously fed them on your boob, you want to try and resemble how they are feeding off you as much as possible. So just look into it, find what works for you and go with it. So that is all I'm going to be answering for today's video. I really hope that this helped some of you out with questions. Let me know if you'd like me to do a part 2 because I got a lot of questions and I couldn't answer them all. So comment down below if that's something that you would like to see. Thank you so much for watching. I will link my socials down below in the description. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my YouTube channel, and I will see you on Wednesday with another video. Bye!